Coming up on Mountain News at 6, a Southern Kentucky police officer suffers serious injuries after a crash yesterday. And have you ever wanted to know what the process is like when dispatchers respond to a serious emergency? We'll have that story coming up.
Plus, April showers back in the forecast as we head into the weekend. I'll break down the most likely time for wet weather other than right now coming up as Mountain News at 6 starts now.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 6.
A Southern Kentucky police officer was seriously hurt in a crash yesterday. A Monticello officer, Jeremy Thompson, was riding a motorcycle in London when he collided with an SUV. He's now at the University of Kentucky Hospital. WYMT's Phil Pendleton spoke to the Monticello mayor about how they are all pulling for Officer Thompson.
Thursday was a busy and challenging day in the small town of Monticello. There was a large fire and then a troubling phone call for Mayor Kenneth Catron.
I'm like, oh my goodness, I hope he's alive. And they reassured that.
Officer Jeremy Thompson was in London for in-service. Then while going through the intersection of Kentucky 30 and the Hal Rogers Parkway, police say an SUV turned into the path of the motorcycle that he was on. He was flown to UK with multiple broken bones and some internal injuries. It's a blow to his family and the department that he works for.
He's a very good officer. He's not scared. He goes in at it, works hard every day. But always be ready for a joke because he's going to pull one on you.
The crash was described as being very violent and severe. In fact, police had to close down the intersection of the Hal Rogers Parkway and Kentucky 30 for some time while it was investigated and reconstructed. Officer Thompson is said to be in critical but stable condition in the ICU. His wife close by his side.
She's still up there, needs a lot of prayers. I mean, we've got to give a lot of prayers to this family right now.
Thompson worked for the Monticello Force for several years, and he was recently honored for his work in a kidnapping case.
He was a very integral part of getting that person back. He didn't step back, he stepped forward. And I have to say our police department's good for that.
Thompson is making progress, and we are told that he may be able to leave the ICU by early next week, but he'll face a long road to recovery. In Wayne County, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
The driver of that Nissan SUV that collided with the motorcycle was taken to a London hospital for treatment.
Continuing to track showers and thunderstorms through the mountains this evening. Our downtown hazard camera, you can see some of the clouds from the several rounds of activity we've seen so far today. Here's the view from downtown Pikeville. Tarps on the ball field from our Pikeville Medical Center camera, and you can see some of the fog coming off the trees on the mountain in the background as well. Temperatures, where it's rained, we're in the 50s and 60s. Elsewhere, well, Monticello's back in the 70s, still in the 70s further to the north. Wayne's at 71, but those temperatures will be dropping soon because we continue to watch some very electrical storms pushing through southern West Virginia. This big-time storm just pushed out of Logan County. More moderate to, at times, heavy rain as you go from Martin County back to places like Morgan County, and the lighter rain along the Mountain Parkway and 460 and further south. We continue to watch some areas of moderate to, at times, heavy rain from southern Perry County all the way back into the northern parts of Pulaski County. Everything here slowly moving off to the north. These really aren't taking off because these storms already used up some of that energy. So as we head through the nighttime hours, we'll continue to see temperatures drop back into the 50s. Well, many of us in the 50s, into the lower to middle 50s as we head through the evening hours, especially in the areas that see rain. Same thing up into the Big Sandy, where some of the warmer spots could get close to 60. Steve, I'll have the details on what the weather looks like as we head into the weekend and when more showers will be possible. That's in a few minutes.
All right, Evan, thank you. A Laurel County man is in trouble with police after they say he called in a report about a possible mass shooting in London. Officers with the Laurel County Sheriff's Office and London Police were tipped off by the U.S. State Department after one of their agents got a call from the man Wednesday night. After further investigation, police later identified the man as 44-year-old Jason Singleton of London. When they finally found Singleton and started questioning him, police discovered he was under the influence and the call was a hoax. He was arrested and charged with falsely reporting an incident to law enforcement and public intoxication. After appearing in court this morning, Singleton is set for a pretrial conference on June 20th. A Southern Kentucky woman is facing charges for her part in a fight that left one man hurt. The altercation occurred Wednesday night off Cheney Ridge Road north of London. Police were called to the scene after a complaint call, but it later escalated into something more serious. When officers got there, they found a man with a severe cut on his arm. Eventually, officers were able to break up the fight between the suspect, 26-year-old Suyapa Patricia Avilés Castillo of London, and another woman. Avilés Castillo was arrested and charged with assault. She was taken to the Laurel County Correctional Center and is being held there on a $25,000 bond. One man is recovering after he was found unresponsive while fighting a brush fire. Yesterday afternoon, crews from the London Laurel Rescue Squad and ambulance were called to the woods near Hawk Creek Road. Once they arrived, they found the man passed out from what was thought to be heat exhaustion. We do not know the name of the victim at this time. He was taken to St. Joseph Hospital in London, then flown out to another hospital. His condition is also not known at this time. A barn fire in Lexington has left at least 12 horses dead. The fire was first noticed around 2 a.m. this morning inside a barn at Four Winds Farm on South Yarnleton Pike. 2 people were inside, but they were able to get out. Kathleen Huff works down the road from the farm. She takes care of horses overnight. She says she heard a thud around the time it was first recognized and looked outside immediately.
I watched it for a bit, but I also was keeping an eye on the horses, making sure they weren't going to freak out on the farm I work at, because ultimately that's my job.
Firefighters say the barn was destroyed. Louisville police released chilling 911 calls from the morning of the mass shooting earlier this week. We wanted to know how 911 centers handle crisis situations like that. Mariah Conjado talked with the E911 director in Lexington to find out, and we want to warn you, these calls may be difficult to hear.
Has anybody been shot? Yes. How many people? I don't know, probably 8 or 9.
This is just one of the dozens of calls the Louisville 911 Center got after a gunman opened fire inside the Old National Bank.
They did a great job staying calm, using verbal judo skills.
The director of Lexington Enhanced 911, Janelle Patton, listened to them too. She says operators are the first responders, a lifeline for the caller. Before taking a seat in the comm center, they go through 160 hours of training through the state. The majority of that training focuses on how to talk with people through emergencies and responder safety. Patton says they can receive up to 6,000 calls a day.
You have to talk in a way to be able to get the information that you need.
Patton says they use verbal judo skills, which involves repetitive questions and a calm voice.
People, when their anxiety is heightened, when they're frustrated, when they're mad, it takes a toll. They don't know what to ask.
Patton says there are times when there's more calls coming in than there are operators. In this case, the phone will keep ringing until it can be answered.
But we want you to stay on the line when you call. When you hang up the phone, when you call 911 and you call back, you're going to the bottom of the call list.
Right now, Patton says the 911 center is down 7 call takers and 8 dispatchers. However, she says they're still ready and prepared to answer any calls for help.
We are going to handle it with grace. We're going to handle it with care. We're going to handle it with a servant leadership mentality.
Mariah Conjado, WKYT.
This week, Patton says the 911 center did experience an outage, but that it did not impact incoming calls. She says the systems are back up.